What's up guys? Welcome to the timeline of Phoenix Suns channel and to another video in our 2020 free agent breakdown series. My name is Sam, maybe you know that by now, maybe you don't. Today we'll be breaking down Justin Holiday, the often forgotten Holiday brother who has slowly worked his way to being one of the more underrated players in the NBA. Allow me to explain why. First, I'll say that if your only knowledge of Justin Holiday coming into this video is that he's worse than Jrue Holiday, I don't blame you. Justin has played for 7 teams in 7 seasons thus far in his career. The only teams he ever started for were a 27-win Bulls team and a 33-win Grizzlies team. Even this year, on a playoff squad playing close to 25 minutes per game, Holiday is still, at the end of the day, on the Pacers. I'm not saying that because I don't respect the Indiana Pacers, I'm saying it because overall the media doesn't respect the Pacers. And so if you don't have a ton of prior knowledge about Holiday's game, hopefully you take something from this video. As with many other guys, I'll start by talking about shooting. Holiday is coming off a career-high 42% three-point clip this year. This is an area that has been relatively inconsistent for him in the past, as most years he hovers around league average, which is 35%. I'll explain more about why I think that discrepancy exists in a second, but first let's focus on the aspect of his shooting that has always been consistent, and that's his corner shooting. This year, Holiday shot an impressive 43% from the corner, but that wasn't far off his career average from the corner, which is 41%. Unlike some other areas, Holiday has a very large sample size of data to back up the fact that he is a consistent, reliable deadeye in either corner. This is the most simple form of being a sharpshooter. It's standstill shooting, and frankly, it's really not that interesting. But it provides a tangible value to any offense, and therefore it's important to acknowledge first that Justin Holiday can excel just as a basic catch-and-shoot guard. I wanted to show you that basic stuff first, so now let's get to the fancy stuff. The next several clips you're going to see are of Holiday getting as flashy as a shooter can get. He can step back, he can pull up, he can knock them down with the buzzer about to go off. The point of showing you this isn't to convince you that Holiday is actually James Harden, because obviously he's not. He realistically only attempts shots like this at most once per game. However, hopefully you can see that this isn't just your basic cookie-cutter shooter who only knows how to catch and shoot. There's a certain level of confidence that Holiday has with his dribbling that makes him far more dangerous than that. Let's take this play as an example. If you're going to run a player off a curl like this, you already need a good amount of confidence that he can hit that shot off movement with a hand in his face. But for your average catch and shoot guy, the play is going to stop right here. The average player is going to shoot immediately, 0 dribbles, and if the defense recovers fast enough, then you'll be stuck. The difference with a guy like Holiday is that unlike most wings, he actually has the confidence to sense the collapsing defense and then attack it with a single dribble, creating, in this case, a better shot. And most importantly, he doesn't just have the guts to take these shots, he's actually pretty good at them as well. Holiday shot an insane 51% on pull-up threes this season, and that's the reason his three-point percentage shot up by so much this year. He's always been good at knocking down simple shots from the corner, but in the past 3 seasons combined, he shot just 33% on those tougher, pull-up, unassisted types of threes. This year he shot up to 51%, obviously a massive improvement. And also obviously, common sense says that 51% on unassisted threes isn't sustainable long term, and for that reason maybe we should be expecting some regression from Holiday's three-point percentage next year. On the other hand, it's also just a fact that Holiday wasn't even taking these sorts of high difficulty shots a few years ago. It's a testament to how much he's grown since entering the league that he can now do stuff like this, and that should encourage rather than dissuade GMs. Moving on to an underrated aspect of Holiday's offense is his strength in transition. I'll talk a lot more about this later when we get to defense, but Holiday is so brilliant at cutting off passing lanes that he's always going to generate a lot of transition buckets through deflections and steals. But his strength in transition goes beyond just that. Because he's not much of a defensive rebounder, he puts his speed to use by leaking out and beating the defense down the floor. Holiday ranked in the 84th percentile as a transition scorer this season, second on the Pacers after TJ Warren. And because the Pacers are generally a slower team, they maybe didn't use that skill of his as much as they could have. In fact, all of Holiday's recent teams actually, the Knicks, the Bulls, the Grizzlies, and now the Pacers, are typically on the slower side. I think if you finally put him on a traditionally fast team for basically the first time in his career, you could reap a lot of rewards out of that in the open court. By contrast, the greatest weakness in Holiday's offensive game is his finishing ability, or lack thereof. He shot just 56% at the rim, which already isn't good for a player of his size, but the most alarming thing is how frequently Justin Holiday gets blocked. Let me give you a comparison to wrap your head around this. Let's go back to Isaiah Thomas's second-team All-NBA season on the Celtics. In that year, even at 5'9", only 15% of Thomas's attempts within 5 feet were swatted away. Flash forward to Justin Holiday this year, 18% of his attempts within 5 feet were blocked. Holiday has a 9-inch height advantage on Thomas, and yet because of bad timing and bad angles, he gets blocked just as much. This continues to happen because throughout his career, Holiday has never developed a reliable floater, but he also doesn't have the athleticism to just posterize anyone. So he's kind of doomed to this middle ground where he continues to attack with a regular layup that gets him poor results. This means that Holiday doesn't provide much value as a pick-and-roll guard because nobody is afraid of his slashing, but it also means that he doesn't do much for you as a cutter either because his finishing isn't any better there. Overall, if you bring Holiday into your offensive scheme, it's because you trust his shot, you trust that he can help you push the pace, and you know that he'll buy into a role and be a system player. But that's about the extent of his strengths on that side of the court. Okay, let's talk defense now. Holiday is a decent offensive role player, but he's very clearly an above-average defender, and you can immediately tell just by looking at him that this is an intimidating player on the defensive end. At 6'6", but sporting a massive 7-foot wingspan, Holiday is no doubt one of the best anticipatory defenders in the league. The basic box score stats should be enough proof of that, as he averages 1.7 steals and 0.9 blocks per 36 minutes. But beyond that, you can find plenty of examples in the film of Holiday being 2 steps ahead of everyone else. He rarely is in the wrong place when it comes to perimeter rotation, and he can afford to be a bit riskier at playing the passing lanes because his length is so absurd. This leads to plays like this, where Holiday has to cover so much distance that all you can do is scratch your head in wonderment and think, how the hell did he just come up with the ball? But long arms are good for more than just steals. When the Pacers needed someone to contest the step-back threes of James Harden or Luka Doncic, it was often Holiday tasked with the job. That's because he's in the small intersection of players long enough to bother their shot, while also being smart enough not to reach in and foul. And you can marvel at his wingspan in these clips. He's flashing his length at some of the league's premier players in an almost tantalizing way. It's as if he's challenging them, desperately trying to bait them into step-back threes that he knows he can contest all night long. And in general, Holiday is just a very sound on-ball defender. He has great body control, being able to stick with a player from the perimeter all the way down to the rim without being knocked off balance. When the offense tries to screen him out of a play, he'll fight hard to get around it and often still end up contesting the shot. He's also very good in the open court, where his lateral quickness allows him to stop more agile guards in addition to heavier wings. Watch how he navigates these transition plays against guys like Russell Westbrook and Derrick Rose with ease. If you're a Suns fan watching, then you've probably already made this comparison in your head, so I'm just going to come out and say it. Holiday reminds me a lot of Mikal Bridges. Both are intelligent team defenders who can capitalize on their length to help rack up deflections or contest shots. Both fit the 3-and-D mold that literally every NBA playoff team is looking for. But also like Mikal Bridges, Justin Holiday is on the thinner end at roughly 180 pounds. I'd be very confident sticking him on just about anyone at positions 1 through 3. But he's not a defensive player of the year candidate, and you can't just stick him on, say, Kawhi or Giannis and expect good results. In fairness to him, we didn't get to see him put onto too many bigger players this year. I think the biggest opponent I found who matched up with Justin Holiday frequently was Tobias Harris, who has a casual 50-pound advantage on Holiday. But honestly, even in this matchup, I came away impressed with Holiday's overall instincts. While he did end up forfeiting some points to Harris in the post due to a lack of strength, for the most part he battled really well and he denied a bunch of easy buckets. To start wrapping things up here, I think there's no question that Holiday is a big impact defender who can help your team's defensive scheme in a number of ways. But as always, age is going to play a factor in his contract negotiation. At age 31, Holiday is now arguably over the hump. or at least at the age where some of the quick twitch athleticism that makes him so dominant defensively could start to fade. I honestly couldn't tell you how GMs are going to evaluate him this summer because he's had such an interesting career. But I am confident in saying they'll probably feel a lot safer offering 1 or 2 years as opposed to 3 or 4. As always, we're going to bring in the thoughts of my co-host, Mike V. Hill, to talk about Holiday's fit specifically on the Suns.
Justin Holiday is one of my favorite on-the-fringes options for the Suns this offseason. Is he a star? No. Is he young? No. But if you're like many Suns fans and you watched their bubble performance and thought maybe we should keep this team together, maybe the issue isn't that they need another star, maybe they just need guys that fit the culture and the system. Well, that's what Justin Holiday is. He's not going to dribble into traffic and create for himself or others, but he's also not going to dribble the air out of the ball. He makes quick decisions, he's a lights-out three-point shooter, and his defense fits the exact culture Monty Williams is trying to build. Whether or not the Suns need to go star shopping and shed players to create salary cap space, or if you think they need to stay the course and fix minor issues on the edges, is a conversation that we will have over the next few months. But if you believe in the second thought, Justin Holiday is a great veteran to add to the team at what will likely be a relatively low cost.
And that's all for us today. Drop a comment below to tell us how you feel about Justin Holiday, and hopefully if you enjoy the content, please make sure to subscribe. Feel free to tell me also who you think I should cover next. And as always, I'll drop a link to our weekly Suns podcast in the description as well. Until next time, guys.